All right, it is so exciting to be here tonight. It's all about the fun here. It's Friday night, and I'll tell you, it's so exciting because this is the time you work so hard all week, right? And so this is the time to just sit back and just relax and just enjoy traveling. So it's all about the fun. That's what it is. We're traveling to Iceland tonight, and we have two wonderful hosts to help us. We have Erin with Huckleberry Travel. They're based in New York and California, and then we have our own very own world traveler Andy, and they have some excellent and different perspectives on Iceland tonight. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I say let's get going. All right, you've come to the show on the right night. It's Friday night. It's all about the fun, and we're talking traveling all around the world here. And we're talking with our personal travel host, and that's Erin Richards. She is the go-to girl when it comes to Huckleberry Travel. They are based in international connections, based in New York and in California. And so I can't wait to introduce you to Erin. She's actually a former school teacher, and she definitely knows how to give you the extra facts and figures just because of that. But not only that, you're treated like VIP. Everybody is on every trip. So start dreaming of your destination. And now let's meet Erin. Hey, Erin, so glad that you're here with us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about our destination tonight.
Well, we're going to go to Iceland, which is kind of unusual. It's not actually a place a lot of people think would make a fantastic vacation, but I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. It is it is an adventure, but I think it's an adventure that's got something for everybody.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to start learning about this. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to say they call Iceland the land of fire and ice because it is not unlike Hawaii. It was made from volcanoes, but unlike Hawaii, it's a lot further north and it's cold. So you've got massive glaciers and massive volcanoes. And some of you may remember, it's like the early 2000s. There was actually an eruption in Iceland that stopped air traffic for like 2 days because of the smoke and ash, and you couldn't fly over that region and get to Europe, and it made for some trouble.
Wow. Now you're going to be showing us a particular area.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the area around and close to Reykjavik, which is the capital. Tons to see and do there if you just have a short amount of time. A lot of people actually, and a lot of our clients, are using Iceland as kind of a long layover and going to Iceland for 3 or 4 days on their way to some other place in Europe, maybe Norway, maybe the UK, something like that. but I'm here to tell you, you can spend 2 weeks in Iceland all by itself too, and you can do that. If you do that whole circle of the country, they call that, it's called the Golden Circle Tour, and you can actually take a tour of the entire island in about a week. So that's the, oh.
Oh, okay.
If you want, yeah, go ahead and go back to the map and I can show you. So that blue road that kind of goes around the whole, except for that one little section up in the corner there. Yeah, that is the Golden Circle route, they call that. And you can take, there's several tours that do it. It's best if you have a couple days, but you can do it in a day. It's not a huge country. And you can see you'll see tons and tons and tons and tons of gorgeous glaciers, amazing waterfalls. And then depending on the time of year you go, you may see some really green areas, or you may see a lot of snow. So that next picture you have for us, that's actually the capital. There's Reykjavik. So it is, I mean, it's pretty, what do I want to say? I mean, the heritage is very Nordic, very Scandinavian, but at the same time, Iceland is its own place. They've had the longest form of democracy. Their democracy is the oldest democracy in the world. That's what I'm trying to say. Their parliament has existed for almost 1,000 years, I want to say. I mean, it's been a really, really long time. And while their language is similar to, say, Swedish or Norwegian, it is an entirely different language. It is Icelandic, and it's one of the oldest languages in the world.
Now, when you were there, do a lot of people speak English, though?
Almost everybody speaks English. I don't think we ran into anybody who didn't speak English. But they are super excited to talk to you about their language. And if you ask them how to say, like, please or thank you or hello, they're more than happy to tell you. The Icelandic people are very welcoming and very, very friendly. I don't know if it's because they spend 6 months out of the year in the dark and they're just looking for excuses to talk to people, or what it is, but some of the nicest and best people I've met in traveling ever.
Oh, wow. That's really good to know.
So the Northern Lights is a big draw for Iceland. They're best viewed from late fall until like very early spring, like Marchish. The peak viewing in Iceland for the Northern Lights is January, February. Unfortunately, when we were there, we went actually over New Year's Eve. And when we were there, it was much too overcast for us to see them. And you do have to go kind of out of Reykjavik. But there's lots and lots of tour companies that will take you out. And it's more of a natural experience, I think, than even you get in some places in Alaska, because you are so remote, and there's not even like, the village is not near. Like in Alaska, a lot of places, you know, you can leave from Anchorage and within a half hour be someplace to see the Northern Lights. Not true in Iceland. You know, Reykjavik is an hour from everything, I like to say.
Oh,
it's not close at all.
Yeah, that is so pretty though. So this is your tour.
Yes. So we actually kind of did our own self-guided thing. We went over New Year's Eve a couple years ago because we heard that Icelandic people party like no other on New Year's Eve. It's a bigger holiday for them than Christmas even. So we decided we were going to go and check it out. We made some cultural stops in Reykjavik. This is, and I'm going to butcher the name, but it starts with an H. And it's Helskin. Oh, I'm going to butcher it, but it's their most famous church in Reykjavik, built in, I want to say the 1600s, and it's dedicated to Leif Erikson, who that's his statue there in front of the church. The cool thing about this church is is just the way it looks, and the stained glass on the inside. The windows and things are something like 2 stories tall in some places. And then the church itself, you can see it kind of looks like a staircase almost from the side.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
They have, so that's New Year's Eve. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but New Year's Eve, Iceland has the biggest fireworks display in the world. It's actually a fundraiser for their fire department and for the fire department for the country. And the fire department actually fully funds itself with the sale of fireworks on New Year's Eve for an entire year.
You know, one thing I noticed is look at the lights way up there. So you have windows with lights. So is there light up here too in the tower?
Yeah, so that the steeple of the church is actually it's you'll see the picture in a minute. I think there's a pipe organ inside the church that is the biggest pipe organ in Europe. Yeah, there it is. Something like, I can tell you, I think I have it in my notes, because it's an insane amount of pipes in that pipe organ, and they go up into that steeple. So there is actually stained glass and windows up in that steeple, because when they need to do repairs, they have to get up there. We were not allowed to go up there. I think you are allowed to go up there. We, however, we decided we were going to take a little different tour. And so, yeah, so it's 5,275 pipes in that organ.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The smallest ones are about a foot long, and the biggest ones are, I don't even remember, they're huge. And the organ has a name, I'm going to try and say it. I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Orgelshuder. That's the name of that organ. And it was dedicated. I was trying to see if I kept in my notes when it was dedicated, and I did not. But the name of the church, I will attempt the name of the church, is Hallgrímskirkju. It's very long and it's not spelled at all like you think, but I can put in chat later how to spell it. It's an incredible church though. It's Lutheran. A lot of Scandinavian religion is the Lutheran religion, so it's pretty cool. This little guy over here, you can see he looks like he's made out of light, and he looks like he's hanging on to that window. So during the winter holidays, because there is only light for 4 hours a day in Iceland, from like early November until late January, there's really only 4 hours of light a day. They do the Icelandic people do a lot to light up their town. So they have these light displays, and these guys are called the window peepers, and they have them all over Reykjavik in the city. And it's a light display. It's these little kind of elfin figures. Some of them look in windows, some of them pop out of barrels, some of them, do a little dance at a street corner. They do all kinds of different things, and there's like hundreds of them all over the place. And it's a nice little way to light up the night without having to add a bunch more light posts.
Oh, that is cute. I mean, that's a clever idea too.
This is the Christmas cat, and I learned this fable I learned when we went, and I just think it's amazing and incredible, and it kind of appeals to my little bit of a darker side. So, we tell kids, if you're bad, Santa's going to leave coal in your stocking. Well, in Iceland, if you're a bad child, the Christmas cat comes and eats you.
Oh my gosh.
So I know. So this is the Christmas cat. He's a very large representation of the Christmas cat, and of course he is all in light, so that there's just that little bit more of light in the city. They are they believe in trolls and fairies, and this Christmas cat just kind of plays into the whole thing of, if you're a bad kid, you're going to get eaten by this Christmas cat.
How frightful.
Now
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that's dusk in Reykjavik, and it's probably about 2 p.m. And it probably was light around 11. So not a whole, or 10, I guess, not a whole lot of daylight. That's the statue of Leif Erikson, who Icelanders credit with discovering Iceland.
I had a question real quick. In Alaska, they have these lights because there's not enough light, so they have these lights that are meant to help you exist and not get depressed.
Yes.
Do they use those in Iceland?
If they do, I think they're more home-based. There wasn't a whole lot of that, like where we were in the hotels and restaurants and things. But yeah, I've heard that they're almost they're not super bright, but their wattage somehow mimics the same intensity of the sun. And so, yeah, you don't get that, because it's a thing. You get that seasonal depressive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me. This is the coldest bar in the world. It's actually inside a glacier.
Oh my gosh.
So I mentioned that, Iceland is the land of fire and ice. There are tons and tons of glacier expeditions where you can ride in like the big cat vehicles and get up to a glacier, or you can hike glaciers. We did one where you can actually go inside a glacier. So the water in Iceland is super pure because it's all glacier driven water. And one of the things they tell you, like when you get off the airplane, is you're wasting your money if you buy bottled water, because the water that comes out of the tap is more pure and better than anything you're going to buy in a bottle. And I got to say, they weren't wrong. Like, I did not have a bad glass of water the whole time I was there. And we would fill up our water. We had water bottles, but we would fill them up from the bathroom sink in the hotel every morning because the water was so good. Very cold, very clean. We did have to take a snowcat up to the top of the glacier. It was actually, and I'll get into this in a little bit, kind of a harrowing experience. It was very clear and cold when we started up. And you can see that vehicle held probably 40 of us.
Mm-hmm.
That vehicle is driven by GPS. So there is a driver, but the GPS actually moves it because the glaciers are so unpredictable, I guess is a good word. The weather is so unpredictable. That's what I mean. The weather at the top of the glacier is so unpredictable. Visibility can sometimes be a problem. So because they don't want to drive that off the edge of a glacier, they allow the vehicle to drive itself by GPS.
Oh
so
my gosh.
Knows. Yeah, I mean, I tried not to think about it because I was like, this is a giant thing, and can it stop fast enough? Can it turn fast enough? All of that. But we made it up and we made it down and no problem. It's a really unique experience. The driver can't always see where he's going, and so he relies on the GPS not to drive us into a crevasse or off the side of the glacier.
That is really something.
Yeah. So you can see, okay, so that picture on the left is actually our return back down. And you can see how much the weather has changed and how much visibility has changed from the time that we got up there. It's almost a complete whiteout. We were leaving the glacier because you leave through like this tunnel, and that's the tunnel on the next slide over and on the right. You leave through this tunnel that kind of just looks like one of those old-fashioned like Quonset huts from World War II. It's all metal and galvanized steel, and it's kind of a freaky experience. You have to wait your turn because they don't want you to get lost in the low visibility weather. So that was us waiting back. We were watching some people who had just left to get back onto that snowcat vehicle and go back down the side of the mountain. And you can see how much that weather had changed just in a few hours we were up there.
That would be now. So the tunnel on the right is it goes through that, or is that where you stand?
No, so you walk through the glacier. Yeah, you get off of the vehicle and this is the entrance into the glacier. So we did actually have to wear picks on our shoes because it's 100% ice. There's no, carpet or anything. So we had to put picks on our shoes. Or they don't call them picks, they call them clamp-ons. We had to put clamp-ons on our shoes. And then, walk through that tunnel and then it opens out after that tunnel. And it's huge inside. That bar's inside. There's caverns inside. One of the guides sang us an Icelandic lullaby, and it just echoed, and it was really eerie and kind of cool.
So did they say what temperature it was right there?
So the weather outside is always colder than the inside of the glacier. Like the glacier itself was actually, the interior of the glacier itself was actually pretty warm. Like we came up totally bundled up in, fur hats and giant parkas and stuff, and gloves and mittens and boots. And by the time we left, like my gloves were in my pocket, my scarf was in my pocket, I'd taken my hat off, I'd unzipped my jacket. It was probably in the 50s inside the glacier. Yeah, outside much colder, but inside it was about 50 probably.
That is so cool to know.
Yeah. And they've done cool light installations and things inside the glacier. The one that we did was called Into the Glacier. They told us all about colors you see in glacier. The more blue something is, the older it is, the older ice it is. If it's kind of a white, it's newer ice. And so they were telling us that the water that came from that glacier actually takes about 25 years to get into the water system for Reykjavik. So the water you drink in Reykjavik is 25-year-old glacier water. It's vintage glacier water.
Vintage. So on the right side, what is this?
So this is one of the many waterfalls and little rivers that kind of runs through the glacier field where we went. And again, this was daytime when we were there, not very bright, but I believe this is out towards where Gullfoss is, and Gullfoss is a pretty well-known waterfall that's fairly close to Reykjavik. It's an easy drive out there to see it, and this is it struck me how fast, and this is all drinkable water, it's all potable water. It just struck me how crazy fast the water was running in winter. Because, usually in winter you see the water run slower because there's ice and there's, debris and all that stuff. But in Iceland, not the case. In Iceland, it's running. I mean, that water is moving. That's why it's so white.
So it comes from the glacier and it's on top. That's why it's so fast, just because.
Yeah, there's so much of it.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you can see there's some little waterfalls. That's kind of the quieter end of where that water was rushing to. But it's everywhere. I mean, I was really surprised for an island country, which it is essentially an island, the amount of water, lakes, rivers, streams, waterfalls, glaciers that's actually inside the country too was incredible to me.
Oh, that's just fascinating.
And okay, so those little toes, those little toes are my traveling companion's little toes. And that crevasse is inside the glacier that we walked through. And you see how it looks like there's light coming up through it?
Yeah.
There is and there isn't. It's light from outside that's just penetrated the ice. Like there's no artificial light in there. But that crevasse, so it's probably maybe a foot across, maybe a foot and a little bit across. Like she could easily walk across it, not a problem. When they talk about like glaciers diminishing, this is what they're talking about, because these crevasses get like wider and wider and wider. And they're also very dangerous. Like you could fall in it and you'd fall forever.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're so super, I mean, a glacier is basically an ice mountain. So, you could fall anywhere from 6 feet to 60 feet to 600 feet. But they start to kind of split apart from the inside. So these crevasses start to form and then they just get wider and wider and wider over time as the earth gets warmer and warmer.
Oh, wow. I mean, I keep saying wow, but this is just fascinating.
No, Iceland, before we left, everybody was kind of like, Iceland, why are you going to Iceland? Like, what's there to do in Iceland? And I mean, I wasn't totally sold on the idea, except that, we wanted to go for New Year's Eve and we'd heard it was so great. And what's funny is when we came back, I was like, that's one of the greatest countries I've ever been to, and I can't wait to go back. I want to go back in summer when there's a little bit more light. But it is a fascinating country. And like I said, the people are so nice. And there is actually a lot to do. It's for an adventure seeking person, but your adventure can be adventure light, in cars and buses and with group hikes, or your adventure can be, let's climb that waterfall, let's go down. There are places in Iceland where they have filmed episodes of Game of Thrones that are like interiors, they're magma tubes, again, like you'd find in Hawaii, that you can hike into. And some of them are still active enough where you can see lava flows.
Oh my heavens.
It's really crazy.
Now,
this,
yeah.
so that's me. That's me enjoying a glass of bubbly in a silica hot spring. That is another thing that Iceland is very well known for, is their hot springs. You can actually go and make a whole vacation of just traveling from hot spring to hot spring to hot spring. But the biggest and most well-known hot spring in Iceland is the Blue Lagoon. And you can see the silica in the water is what makes it that blue, that kind of milky blue color. The hot springs themselves are expansive. They are huge. This is a more private side of the lagoon, and then there's a more public side of the lagoon, which I think we'll see in a minute. You can do anything you could do at a regular spa here, you know, massages, facials, that kind of thing. But the big selling point of this place is the mineral properties of the silica and the other minerals that are found in the water. So we did a couple of treatments that are, you know, meant to pull toxins from your skin and from your body. We floated around, and the temperature, I mean, you can see the steam coming up. It had snowed the night before, so there was a lot of ice and snow on the decking around the pools. And there are indoor pools as well. They're not all outdoor. But we were like, we're in Iceland and there's actually sun. We should be outside. But it was probably in the 30s or 40s the day we went, temperature wise. It was maybe a little colder when it was a little darker. But the pools themselves are between 80 and 95. And there are a couple pools that are even hotter than that. So it's a really nice time. You definitely don't feel the cold air unless you get out, and you can go from an interior pool to an exterior pool without having to get out of the pool. So it's really nice. You don't get cold at all. They provide you with robes and slippers and that kind of stuff. You do have to, in order to preserve the pureness of the water, they do ask you when you get there to completely shower. Get rid of all the shampoo and stuff in your hair. If you have longer hair, they tell you to put it up because the silica will completely dry out your hair. And I did have mine up, but even with my hair up, a couple of the treatments that I did, stuff got in my hair, and my hair was like wood for a day.
Oh dear.
All of the moisture had just been sucked out of it. But that's a place, it's very touristy, the Blue Lagoon. I will straight up admit that. It's very touristy, but it is well worth it. We spent about a half a day there, had a great time, and felt completely refreshed, bought some of the lotions and things to bring back with us. And yeah, it was something not to be missed.
Now I'm curious, on the overall expenditures here at Iceland, what does that compare to any other countries? Is it in the medium or what is it?
Iceland is a little more expensive because, again, not unlike Hawaii, I'm going to keep comparing it to Hawaii, they have to bring everything in because there's no real agriculture in Iceland because of the terrain. There's no trees. I don't know if you noticed in the pictures, there's not a lot of trees.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, no, their big industries are alcohol and beer. They do actually do a lot of fishing. But yeah, in terms of vegetables, produce, that kind of thing, most of it is shipped in, if not all of it. And a lot of their proteins, aside from some beef and obviously all the fish, is brought in from somewhere else. So food and drink wise, it's a little more expensive. Lodging wise, we didn't find it too different from anywhere else in Europe or, big cities like New York. Airfare is really decent. Really decent. It is actually probably the least expensive part of the trip was our airfare. Places like the Blue Lagoon are priced kind of tourist prices. It's not a place that a lot of native Icelanders go to, but there are tons and tons, like I said, of hot springs that are less expensive and that more people do go to.
So what time of the year would you suggest to come over and enjoy it if you've never been there?
If you've never been, I had never been there and I had a fantastic time in the winter, but if you do want to spend a lot of time out of doors and you do want to spend a lot of time hiking, I would say from late spring, May, June, until late summer, August, September is probably the best time to go. We have a great partner in this supplier called G Adventures. that does amazing tours all year long to Iceland. And they're a super small group, like 8 to 12 people. So you really get a feel for the place. You're not running from, activity to activity and missing out. You really are kind of immersed in the culture and the people. We really like working with them because they're a great partner and they believe in giving back to the areas where they travel to. So when you're traveling with them in Iceland, every place you go, every experience you have is either owned by or supported by an Icelandic family or person. So, they were a cool partner, like all through the pandemic and everything. They were giving back. So many people couldn't travel, and Iceland especially was very shut down. But they did amazing fundraisers. Like they had all of us do a virtual walk to I'm completely blanking on in Nepal. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. Everest. They had us do a virtual walk to Everest Base Camp, and they used the money that we all raised in our virtual walks, on our treadmills and things in our own homes, to the proprietors of the businesses and stuff in countries everywhere, not just Nepal, that didn't have any tourists all of a sudden. So we really love partnering with them because they think way beyond the trip, and they support the communities and they support the people who support the communities.
That's really your partnerships. I think that's a value everybody needs to know, is all the relationships you've built all over the world in these different countries. And that's why, literally everyone should go through to have a very good experience, to go through a travel agency. And the reason I picked you guys is because you guys were prominent. You were on the front page of the World Association of Travel Companies, and you just had such high ratings. And so I thought this would be the best fit, and we're lucky to have you on here. Here's something pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and thank you for that. No, we pride ourselves on being super service oriented, and we pride ourselves on only working with suppliers who are, giving back and thinking about like the ethical side of travel as well as the fun side of travel. So the other thing I learned on my trip is that Iceland has a huge art scene. So there's a lot of kind of pop art and graffiti art. This was actually in, of all places, the airport.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought this was a really cool mural, mirage, mosaic, whatever you want to call it, based on the comics, obviously, but just like it was all tile. Like, it's hard to see in the picture, but tiny little tiles. It was really, really a cool piece. And my theory is it's because it's dark. So, what better way to bring a little bit of light and bright than to do it with art? And so that's my theory. They have a huge, everybody loves those Instagrammable like wall murals. Tons and tons of them in Iceland, tons and tons, huge whole sides of buildings, just, birds and hawks and elves, and it's cool.
That is way cool.
This is probably something that everybody knows Iceland for, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is the Iceland Philological Museum, which is a fancy way of saying the Iceland Penis Museum.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there are over like 1,000 different specimens in this museum.
Oh,
and it's just this. Yeah, they've got everything from whales to mammals to bats and humans and everything in between. It's a very interesting museum. It does actually kind of get into a lot of philosophy from like early peoples and stuff, and phallic symbols and things like that, and how they use them in rituals and tribals and things like that. But it's one of those places that I didn't know about it before we left, but after we left and people were like, where are you? Like 9 out of 10 people that said, where are you? And I said, I'm in Iceland. They were like, oh, make sure you go to the Penis Museum. So it's a thing.
Well, I never knew about it till now. So I'm glad I know.
I don't know. We went because, everybody told us we had to go. So we went. So yeah, I can check that off. I don't know that I need to go back, but we went once.
Well, ending with that note,
There you go.
leave it up to Erin, right? Hey, this was a wonderful trip through Iceland that we were able to take, and with you hosting that. So give us your information out, the best way to get a hold of you.
The best way to get a hold of me is probably my email, which is right there, Erin@huckleberrytravel.com. But I'm also available by phone pretty much anytime. I mean, that's the beauty of the work from home life and being a travel advisor is I'm reachable when you need me. So that is our mainline number, that 866 number, and then extension 3 gets to me.
Oh, excellent. We sure appreciate you, Erin. You know, there's nothing than having a firsthand expert that can guide us all through this and have these wonderful trips. If they were to go to Iceland, I mean, what's the best time to book? Like 6 months in advance, a month in advance?
The way Iceland is booking now, you can do it as soon as 3 months in advance, but I really wouldn't do it less than that.
Oh, okay.
Just because it is a small place, you do want to go when you want to go and not just when there's space for you to go. And hotels and things do book up fast. So I would say lean more towards 6 months in advance, but we can make it happen in 3 months. We've done it before.
Well, and the best part is, you know, all of the travel procedures, especially with who wears a mask, who doesn't, and what's going on.
And Iceland, they're much less complicated now than they used to be, but they are still pretty complicated.
Well, I'm so proud of you to help everybody. Well, thank you so much. We sure appreciate you. We can't wait. Do you have an idea what we're going to talk about next week, or is it a surprise?
Well, I think we might go domestic next week, but I'll keep you posted.
Okay, I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. And it's so exciting. Our next guest, we just talked with Erin. She's been in Iceland and we got to learn quite a bit about it. But guess what? Our world traveler, Andy Bowman, and his family, they've been in Iceland as well. So we're going to continue this story. Now, what Erin mentioned is that she was there in the winter time, would like to go more in the summertime. So Andy has been in there more of the warmer climate time. So you'll get the best of everything when it concerns Iceland. So I'm so excited to welcome to our world traveler, Andy Bowman. Hey, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Doing all right. Well, I'm so excited. We're going to get started here. Now, you're in Costa Rica still. You go there. You've been there 3 times in 2 years, right?
4 times in about a year, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Costa Rica, they have fun signs like this one. Don't let anyone treat you like free salsa. You're a guacamole, baby. You are guacamole. That is great. But you have definitely had some fun there. And so with that, look at this. Tell us about this experience.
This was a spearfishing trip I went on about a week ago. So it was fun. There's a bay north of here. I think on the show before I was there at the time, called Papagayo, Gulf of Papagayo. And this is the town of Cocoa Beach, which is pretty popular with divers. and fishermen. So yeah, I always wanted to spearfish. I'd never had tried it. I've done what's called a Hawaiian sling, which is more like a spear that isn't really shot out of a gun. And this is like traditional spearfishing. It was a lot of fun. You essentially put on a mask and a snorkel and go out in deep water and snorkel around and hope you have good visibility, which fortunately we had pretty good, and look for fish and yeah.
Wow. So what kind of fish are you holding? I mean, the two of you holding?
So I'm on the left, and the guy in the middle, Alex, he was just there as well. Those are jackfish. And then the guy on the right was our guide, actually. And so he's holding a triggerfish and a lobster.
Oh, wow. Oh, how cool. And so did you go home and like fish fry it, or how did you cook it?
Yeah, well, the jackfish, we went home, we made fish tacos out of that. And then the trigger, I believe, so there's so the guide on the right, he actually lives in the same condo complex I'm in. So there's a restaurant down the street, you bring in the fish and they'll cook it up for you. And so I think that's what he did. He actually went the next day, which I wish I could have gone, but I just, with work and stuff, I just wasn't able to. And he pulled in, I think, like 4 tuna, like good 3-4 foot in length tuna. And so he took that to the restaurant, and they pretty much made like a ton of sashimi for him and like 10 other people. And he still got a bunch of tuna left over. So.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? You had a lot of fish tacos. Now here, as you mentioned, it was a camera that didn't do the best justice, but you're surfing. So how long have you been surfing? You're in your 40s. I think you're going to be 44 this year. And it's like, you're still 20, you know?
Well, I always wanted to surf. Like I didn't live near the ocean. So it wasn't like something I could really take advantage of. And so, yeah, I think last year, I'd say I'd probably been surfing like for about a year. I mean, I tried previously, a couple of days in Waikiki, grab a board and try to surf. And it's tough. I want to say it's probably one of the hardest sports I've ever tried to do, just because it's, there's a huge learning curve initially to just try to capture the wave and kind of be able to read the ocean. And, unlike others, like board sports, like snowboarding or skateboarding, the power source is you don't have any control over. So you have to kind of just move with the ocean and kind of be able to read it. So that's probably the most difficult thing, I'd say. But
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. And there's your son, William,
Mm-hmm.
my grandson. I love it. And so what town is this in? Where are you at?
This is a little town, Flamingo Beach, which it's a popular vacation destination. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. That's like an all-inclusive resort. He has those kind of popped up in warm weather climates. So this town has one of those. So it's a small town, and we just like to hang out. It's like in 45 minutes from where we're at. So it's a fun little
That
place.
is so cool. And then you have the rainbow. So
and it rained in the mountains, so it just kind of made a pretty little rainbow. Made a good photo out.
Yeah, it sure did. I thought it was photoshopped here. Okay, so now we're going to Iceland. So talk about where you fly in at, and then where did you go?
So I flew in, and I think they're still doing this. Iceland Air for a long time had this great thing where you could buy a ticket on Iceland Air to to their destinations in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But you could stop over because the flight would go from like Seattle or Denver. I flew out of Seattle. They had a Seattle to Reykjavik, which is the capital of Iceland, and then you would change planes and then continue on to whatever your destination in Europe would be. But the unique thing that Iceland Air had is that they had an opportunity that you could stay in Iceland for up to a week in between. So that was really cool, and I think that they did that a lot to promote just tourism in Iceland. I think they still do that too, and it's a pretty good. So we actually were going to Oktoberfest in Germany, which we did, but then we stopped over for a week in Iceland. So you got to kind of do 2 for 1. It was cool.
So I'm trying to find the state capital. Where is it? I mean, where's
just to the left? You're actually right there. So we're just right. Yep.
Oh,
so
okay.
Reykjavik is the capital, and that's the major. It's I think the only international airport.
And then you
So
took
went
this
there.
drive, right?
Yep.
And
So
then how far
essentially, we took that whole drive all the way to right there, Diamond Beach. You just kind of passed it.
right here? Okay.
Yeah, just if you go to that picture on the just lower right there, not that one, the next one low down. Yeah, right there.
Right
That's
there.
as
Okay.
that's as far east as we made it. Yeah.
All right. So let's start talking your photos here. So what time of the year did you go?
So we went more in the fall. I've been there twice, and I want to say both times is in like September. It was September. is
Oh,
when it
okay.
was, which
Excellent.
I would say is probably the best time. Like if you go fall or spring,
Mhm.
the advantages are summer's really busy, so it's tough in the summer. It's just crowded. It's going to be more expensive. Winter is slower season, it's cheaper, but the problem in the winter is it gets dark really early. It's similar to Alaska. I don't know that it even gets daylight for very long. So
Mhm.
you are kind of in the dark. The perfect scenario is fall, spring, where you still get long daylight hours. So you got plenty of light to go out and do things during the day.
Mhm.
But you're kind of in that shoulder season, so it's not like crazy expensive or busy.
So this is what area?
You know, so many
Okay,
pictures.
I want to ask you. So
Yeah, no, this I think is that's that Southern Road. So that's a real popular track. It's called the Southern Road, and
okay. And it's still
yeah,
kind
you
of
went back
cold,
to the map.
right?
It is, yeah. It's not freezing snow temperatures, but you know you're that close to the waterfall right there, and it's spraying you like you're getting mist all over you. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, like Lindsay right there. If she didn't have that jacket on, she'd be soaking wet because it's just a lot of mist.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's the Black Sand Beach. Some people would know that because it was featured on a few movies. It was on, I think, some episodes of, oh geez, now I'm gonna draw a blank. That HBO series, oh, Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
And then it was also, I think, in Star Wars, on the newer Star Wars movie. So
I knew somebody, he was a geologist, and he traveled all over the world, and he kept vials, little bottles. They're the same type of bottles, and had all the sands of different beaches. And then he had it color coded. You guys should do something like that.
we did actually from this place. We did grab some of the sand, and we made a like a bonsai tree, and then
Oh,
did the sand
okay.
around the bonsai tree with this black sand.
So is this in the evening or just an overcast day?
It's just overcast. I mean, it's Iceland's and it's really unique. It's very like say all the time. It's like this combination of Hawaii and Alaska, and what I mean by that is it's very volcanic, like Hawaii. If you ever visited Hawaii, the entire island is made up of volcanic residue and rocks and things like that, and that's what this is like. Everywhere you go is pumice or black volcanic sands, things like that. But it has that colder climate like Alaska, where I mean, it never really gets hot or anything like that, even in the peak summer. And it's near the coast, so it's wetter. You have fog, and it's got this real wild feel to it, though, like you're at the edge of the earth. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it has. It just looks gorgeous too. And you found a little church, or was that a church
Yeah.
or the graveyard? Oh, okay.
Little church. So I mean, just driving around, it's one of those you really can't take photos and capture it because it's just driving around. I mean, it's not well populated. There's not a lot of people on there, and it was inhabited by the Vikings. And there's still a lot of locals still can trace their heritage to the original Vikings.
Oh, wow.
And they still, it's interesting, they still, I mean, a lot of the population still believes in things like elves and little people. So you'll see like driving along, you'll see little shrines, like little houses made and stuff for the elves, and it's still very much part of their everyday culture, which is really kind of cool to experience.
That is cool. Now, is that a nice cube, like really big, or are you?
No, that's really big. Yeah, there's the one on the left. That's at it was in the Diamond Beach is what they call it. So it's really cool. Like it looks like these giant diamonds on the beach. I mean, it's parts of this glacier that have been breaking off, and then it falls into a lagoon, and I think it's called Glacier Lagoon. And you can take a little boat tour if you want and go out to this lagoon, and you'll see pretty much the big icebergs. And then if you go to the beach that's just down, just down, like the lagoon essentially makes a little river, and it deposits all these icebergs into the ocean, but then the current just washes them ashore onto the beach. And so walking around, there's just these huge chunks of ice that are these magnificent colors of blue and aquamarine.
Next time you go, you're going to have Lindsay stand there so you can see how big that is.
Yeah, I actually have some photos like that. I don't think that you have them. I have some photos. Like we're literally, I think that one right there is probably the size of me.
Oh, wow.
But there's others that are twice the size, And the neat thing is the color they have, like you can kind of see the blue in it. They really have, it's almost like they dyed it, like it looks fake, just this blue color, which is from just the minerals, I think, but it's pretty cool.
That is cool. So on the right side, what's that in the background?
That's a glacier. So Iceland has several glaciers. This, I think, is just a piece of, if you look at Iceland Glaciers, there's one that's like the biggest. It's actually, I think it's the biggest in Europe. And this is just like one of the fingers of it. So we just have to catch it. And if you can do tours on the glacier, like it's very dangerous to walk yourself on a glacier because there's parts of it are melting all over and there's big crevasses and stuff. But they do have tours that take you out and you can hike and go at night and you can see like the northern lights and stuff. And they have ice caves and some really cool stuff. So.
That is so cool. And here we have a valley. Is that sheep?
Yeah, and this picture is just kind of a representation of like every 100 feet, it feels like there's a waterfall like this. Like you just kind of, you just constantly driving along the shoreline. So that south road follows the coast mostly. So it's mostly at sea level, but really, I mean, Iceland is volcanic. So it's made up of, it's similar to Hawaii, it's made up of a volcano. So the interior of it is very mountainous and it goes up really quickly. So all the water that rains in the middle finds its way down to, there's just waterfalls everywhere. Like everywhere you go, you're just kind of following along and there's just gorgeous waterfalls and little creeks and sheep farmers and just real pretty. I wish I had a better camera at the time. I think I had a bad camera phone, but.
Now, is this where you stayed?
Yeah, that was one little place we stayed at. It was just, there's lots of little cool huts and stuff like that you can just rent. So it was just a little local hut, went to the store and it had like, I think a bunk bed in it. And it was just out in the middle of middle nowhere, pretty much.
So then we're back to the finger of a glacier.
No, it's really neat to see. Like, oh yeah, there's the lagoon that you, so that's just pieces of this ice that's floating. And the glacier is just melting, over time, and it breaks off, and it goes into the lagoon itself is gray. Like the glacier pushes a lot of mineral deposits, so it's like this really gray water, and then but then all that floats out to the ocean, which is really on the other side of that bridge, and then like I said, the current brings it back to the beach, and then you have Diamond Beach. Yeah, there's more. Yeah.
Picture of it.
Yeah, there. Now see, those are large. Those are not like, I didn't zoom in and get down on the ground type of thing. Those are really large, about the size of a man. Those chunks of ice.
That is just amazing. And so
this is cool. So one of the really cool things about Iceland is there's hot springs everywhere. So like I said, it's volcanic. So because of that, there's natural warm water, and I've been told this, I don't know if it's an urban legend, I haven't ever actually verified it, but I could see it being true, is that like no one in Iceland has to pay for heat. Like essentially there's so much, because even at the hotels we stayed at in Reykjavik, all the heat's radiant, it comes to the hot water that comes through the furnace, and they have so much warm water and heat available that people just pipe it everywhere. I know, like driving along, I wish I would have got photos, but they had these huge, massive greenhouses where they're growing food all year round. So in the winter, when it's 10 degrees outside, they have just this natural heat that comes from the earth that is just heating these places. So everywhere you go, there's hot springs. So this is like a free one. You know, I mean, there's ones you can pay for and they're a little nicer, like a spa. But if you do a quick Google search, you'll find dozens of them. And this was one we just kind of hiked to. We parked and hiked back maybe a couple miles up a river, and then, you know, it was a little hot springs. And someone had made a pool. It's like a real part of their culture, like going to hot springs. So it was cool. We had it all ourselves.
You had what?
We had the whole place to ourselves. There was no one else there. It was neat.
Oh, that is way cool.
So if you look at that photo, like just in the distance, you'll see like a million little waterfalls. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Everywhere you go, there's just millions. It's super green. Everything's covered in moss or something green, except for when it's black rock, you know, so it's this contrast of colors.
Mhm.
And then just beautiful water features everywhere. It's really gorgeous.
So you got another waterfall that you were showing here.
Yeah, and again, like it demonstrates the contrast in colors. You have this black and then green. It's just this really interesting contrast. They're just both really sharp and
Oh, that's pretty.
yeah.
Is that a field like wheat, or what are they growing? Do you know?
Probably wheat. I don't know if I know, but probably something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's just a little, like I said, you kind of drive along and you start taking, like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I'm gonna take a picture. This is beautiful. I'm gonna take a picture. Pretty much you have to stop every 5 minutes to capture everything, because it's just a nonstop picturesque, like your computer background type pictures, you know.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous.
That's just on the side of the road. Like that literally is like, that waterfall is not, you know, you're just driving along the highway and that's, you look out your window on your right and that's what you see. So just
That's
the drive
beautiful.
is there's the glacier there. I think that's the big one.
Oh, okay. And so now you're seeing all the waterfalls down the road. So this is probably like that other picture.
Yeah, that's the same place. That was actually a route to that hot spring. So we just literally followed the river's edge, and then I just followed it up. Kind of, if you see where the water goes, you know, with the falls, I'd say we just kind of went up maybe a mile, and then there was little hot springs off to the left, and that's real common.
Was the river warm?
No, I mean, it wasn't freezing. I mean, because I think the hot water mixes with it, but the water was cold, you know.
And this isn't all the black that you're showing?
Yeah, it's just again, the island's just made up of black rock, essentially. It's all volcanic.
Let's see, where is this?
This is a hostel we stayed at. That's it's called Kex. It means biscuit in Icelandic. It's actually the building used to be a biscuit factory in Reykjavik, and it's a cool place. It's like 5 floors, and it has hostel type dormitories where you can rent a bed, but it also has individual rooms. And they have this really neat kind of common area on the bottom where locals come. They have a restaurant there, and it serves really good food. So you'll get like a group of locals, and you also got people that are just staying there. So you kind of get to chat with people, and it was just a neat environment.
So what's their main food source? I mean, what's like Idaho's potatoes?
Yeah, so I mean, their food is mostly like sea related. I'd say like a lot of fish, very similar to like Sweden and Norway. You'll see a lot of dried, like cod. I want to say cod. Yeah, I think fried cod is very salty. That's pretty common. Caviar, caviar toothpaste. They have looks like toothpaste tubes, but it's called caviar, and they put that on like everything, like bread and crackers, and it's definitely something you'd have to kind of get used to if you're donating a lot of seafood. You know, it's pretty cool. So.
Awesome. And where's this at?
That's the Blue Lagoon, which I think was featured earlier. That's another hot springs that's just been kind of turned into a spa. You have to pay to go in there, but it's worth it. It's right near the airport, so it's real. Every time the 2 times I've gone, it was kind of like what we did before we got on our flight. So it's real close to the airport. You can go there for an hour and a half, and just real comfortable pools. And they have this mud that's like this natural occurring mud that you can put on your skin and kind of exfoliate yourself. It's kind of a spa treatment type place, and it's
Oh,
a great
wow.
way to refresh yourself before getting on a 6-hour flight to get back to the States.
Like this kind of mud?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's just supposed to be good for your skin, and it's just part of the experience. So they sell
So
it in a
you-
little package, or I actually sell it, but you can also they have chunk like pieces of it for free, like they have like bricks of it that you can just pull a piece off type of thing.
That's cool. And you just wash it off in the pool?
Yeah, it just comes off. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So she's,
Yeah, that's her putting it on. I think like right behind her, there's like a little floating barge thing, and they would just put chunks of the mud up there for
Mhm.
people to use,
oh, cool. That's very cool. So, well, your wife's picturesque anyway. She's a model. She's,
Yeah.
she's good to have in the pictures. So how much fun, and so what's really cool about this is just the adventure of being able to do this with your family. And now you have Costa Rica. So what's next this year for your plans and your trips?
I think we're going to, well, tomorrow we're actually leaving. We've been staying in a town called Tamarindo for 5 weeks. So tomorrow we head out, we'll go to, we're on the Pacific side of Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is sandwiched between the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean on the east side. So tomorrow we head over to the Caribbean side. We're going to go to Panama for a week because there's a island chain there called Bocas del Toro, and it's got these a lot of the town. It's got these like little huts and accommodations that are built over the water on stilts. So I mean, people have seen pictures. They have those in the Maldives and in parts of the Bahamas, but they have them there too. So we rented one of those to kind of experience that. And
Oh, that'd be fun.
yeah. So
Where did you
week
where
there,
did you
and
go?
then
Yeah, where did you go where you had tree houses?
that was here in Costa Rica.
It was? That was
Mhm.
your last trip, I think.
Yeah, they have that's kind of a popular thing here. Like ecotourism is a big thing in Costa Rica, where you essentially go out and kind of just experience wildlife or kind of be in a situation where wildlife would be more available. So in the tree houses, you got, greater chance to get close to a sloth or see monkeys, and plus it's just kind of a fun experience.
That is so cool. So after you are finished, then do you have any other plans of other countries or the rest of this year?
Yeah, we'll head home. We're gonna head home, I think, around the middle of August, and then we got some things to do at home. Get some work done. I got to catch up with, and then I think midsummer, probably, usually after the 4th of July, we'll head out. Not sure where right now. We usually like to go to Europe, so I think we're still planning that. We're just not haven't zoomed in on an exact location yet. So.
Do your kids get to have input?
Of course. Yeah, I know they do. They have their favorites. My 15-year-old, she's like a Francophile, so she really wants to she wants to go to France. She loves everything French. So she loves French baking. She's taking French. So she wants to go to Paris. And we spent, which we've been to before. She hasn't been since she was young, but we spent a summer in Nice one time, which is on the coast. So we might go back there. We're not sure yet.
How much fun. I always enjoy you being on here and sharing your adventures with us. And anybody can do this. We have Erin with our travel, Huckleberry Travel, and we have a tourist on his own with his family. So you can do it in any way, in any fashion. So thank you so much, Andy. I sure appreciate you being on here and sharing with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Yeah, you bet. And thank you. So it is so awesome to have Andy and Erin every Friday night, where it's all about the fun and we get to hear about these adventures just personally. Isn't that I mean, it's just it's Isn't that a trip? But it really is. And so I just want to point out 9 at Night is actually every night. And it is something to where you have a different topic we have every night. And Monday night, it's all about the business. And that's the business and network marketing. You saw that little commercial. It's about my book, Newbie 101. Well, it's network marketing for brand new people who've never done it before, even though it's 80% that's self-development. So it really is for anybody. So we have top leaders on Monday night that kind of share with you. They don't talk about what business they're in, so it's not QVC or anything. It's basically just excellent topics that they cover, some really good tools. Tuesday night, it's all about the drive. And that's motorsports. I'll tell you, it's nothing like having it fresh from the source. And we're covering a particular racing series. And well, you have to join us Tuesday to find out. This is a new feature for us, and we're excited for that. Wednesday, it's all about the talent, and that is anybody from film to music to painting, you name it. We're going to have them on, and we had some wonderful guests here on Wednesday night. Thursday night, it's all about the money, and that's pure finance. And we have a guru when it comes to teaching you exactly what you need to be doing since the dollar bill is declining, okay? And that is my co-host, Ray Patterson, and he is a CFA as a chartered financial analyst, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. And the Friday night, it's tonight. You know, it's all about the fun, and we travel anywhere. So next week, I believe it's going to be New York, and I'm so excited to do that. I've talked with them, and I think that's what we're going to feature on. So anyway, I just can't say thank you for joining us. It is all about you having a place to go to. That's what our 9 at Night is. And you just go to 9atnight.com. You can scroll down the homepage, click on Zoom, and you're on live. You can ask questions live and everything. But I just can't say thank you enough for joining us. Have an incredible weekend, and let's just start thinking about countries you'd like to learn more about, and just let me know. You just go to 9atnight.com and send me a message, and we'll get something that you can feature, okay, that you can learn about. So take care. You're amazing.